Romans chapter 1, verse 16. For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first and also to the Greek. For in it the righteousness of God is revealed from faith for faith, as it is written, the righteous shall live by faith. When we read this scripture, a lot of times we have a different idea of what it means to be ashamed of the gospel. There's so many that come to church and say they know Jesus. So many people say that they have a relationship with Jesus or that they're a Christian, but you couldn't tell if you followed them around. You could not tell if you went to school with them or you worked around them. And so many times that's because they're ashamed of the gospel, because they're not convinced of its message. They're not convinced of the power of God, of salvation, really. But Paul was. Paul wrote that he wasn't ashamed. And he didn't just write it down. He didn't just tell it. He lived it. He was actually in prison because of the gospel. Who would be more ashamed of the gospel than Paul, knowing that it's what put him in prison? But you see, Paul knew that it was worth it because he hadn't always been Paul. He was Saul before Jesus changed him. His name was Saul, and Saul sought after Christians to have them persecuted, to have them imprisoned and executed, until Saul met Jesus one day on the road to Damascus, and Jesus changed his life. Jesus showed Saul not only that he could forgive Saul, but also that he had a plan to use Saul and that he was going to totally change Saul. And so Saul became Paul, a totally different man, a new man with a new purpose. And I want to ask you, have you had that experience? Has God changed you? Have you met Jesus and have him flip your world upside down? Because that's what happened to me too. My name is Devin, and Jesus changed me. I might not have changed my name, but I've changed. Jesus has changed the way that I've thought, the way that I've done things, the way that I live my life. And I can say I would not be where I'm at today if it weren't for Jesus. And if it means going to jail, if it means being executed for him, I'm willing to do that. Not because I'm a great person, but because of the gospel, because of what it means. See, because of the gospel, because Jesus, the Son of God, came to this earth and lived a sinless life and died on a cross, suffered at the hands of men, was beaten and bruised and ultimately crucified for me, not because he did anything wrong, but to pay for me, for my punishment, for your punishment. Now I have a relationship with him. And that's why I walk by faith. That's why I read this Bible. That's why I'm convinced of what Jesus has done, because of the reality of what he's done in my life. So join me every Thursday as we get into this word and study and learn more about Jesus. I know that you won't be ashamed if you give Jesus a chance and you let him change you just like he changed Saul to Paul. You'll find that Jesus is worth it and that he is awesome. He calls us to have a unity with him, and that's awesome. I hope that you take that opportunity and call out to him and open up his word and seek him, because as his words say, if we seek him, we'll find him. So seek him with your whole heart.